This most recent weekend, James Bond and I hosted a Rocket League tournament called The Draw. It was the first one out of 5 that we're going to be hosting throughout the rest of the year. If you guys didn't see any part of it, here's a little clip just to show you what kind of went down. The whole concept of the tournament was that teams played against other teams in a random draw, hence the name The Draw.
Let's get the... Yeah, there we go.
This team gets to play Sup.
As you can see.
And the other team, the remaining team, will play Complexity.
Here's a random draw.
Who will it be?
With
I
Drew.
broke it.
No, did you?
I broke it, and I'm grabbing it.
It's all right.
Yep, it's there. Who is that? Who did I break? No.
Okay, hurry it up, James. You keep me in suspense here.
No, James.
It is Furia.
No.
So Sup versus Furia.
Doyle's laugh in the background cracks me up every time I see that clip. But yeah, regardless, the event was through a random draw, and you could see, you know, we made it fun, we made it interesting, entertaining, so people actually watched the desk segments throughout. But that's not the whole point of this. The whole point of this was that this event was basically made possible by Psyonix and Ally. Ally was a sponsor, but, you know, presented by Psyonix as well. You know, like I just mentioned, the whole thing wouldn't have even happened if it wasn't for them. So it got me thinking throughout hosting the event and after the event as well, that if those two weren't even a part of it, or, you know, getting sponsorships in general wasn't a part of events, these things wouldn't even be possible to run. It wouldn't even make sense financially to even have these events happen. So Rizzo, what are you complaining about this time? Obviously, sponsorships are an integral part of the entire esports ecosystem. You know, whether it's an event organizer actually creating the event, the sponsorship of the event is obviously super important. Maybe it's an esports org who needs sponsors to be able to pay their players, because without them, a lot of these organizations wouldn't even be able to put a dent in the costs of what they're spending for all these events and for all their teams. But the reason I'm even bringing this up in the first place is because there has been a lot of talk recently about pay-per-view in esports. And before I get into that specifically, there was an entire article written from Riot Games talking about building the future of sport just in general. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but there is a part in this long article where they talk about this big hole in the esports business model. Compared to traditional sports is the broadcast licensing revenues. The NFL, FIFA, NBA, and F1 make billions of dollars from broadcast licensing deals for their content, mostly on linear television. Essentially, these TV networks will go on and, I would assume, place a bid to be able to broadcast games, races, whatever sport it ends up being, and they would pay a lot of money to be able to have the rights to broadcast these. There are, you know, TV networks that pay for rights to broadcast a certain round in the playoffs, or maybe all the playoff games of like the NBA, of the NFL, stuff like that. There's essentially a bidding war all the time for these broadcasting rights. And with esports, you don't really see that. There's kind of 3 options for esports right now, and it's Twitch, YouTube, and probably Facebook. But do you really count that? And, you know, you could throw in Kick in there, but for esports, I don't really think Kick is too new. It's not gonna work. Those are your 3 websites that are going to actually have any sort of viewership for esports. And Twitch is by far the leader in this, because if you go anywhere else, your esport probably dies, at least viewership wise. I'm pretty sure Overwatch League, for Overwatch 1, Overwatch League did go to YouTube. That didn't pan out too well, whether it was because the game was hard to watch or if it was because they went to YouTube. Going to YouTube probably didn't help them. Call of Duty also at one point went to YouTube, and I think they're back on Twitch now. But if you know, YouTube can buy broadcast rights for your esport, but at the end of the day, Twitch knows, and most people know, if you go away from Twitch, your esport isn't going to thrive. Twitch is the place to go for esports, so Twitch isn't going to bid. They're just going to kind of let it all go naturally, because, you know, Twitch is the place to be. So broadcasting rights is a huge revenue stream for regular sports, but there are also advantages that esports have, and Riot did go into this as well. They say one huge advantage esports have over traditional sports is a direct connection to our viewers. Riot Games watch platform at lolesports.com that utilizes an embedded Twitch or YouTube video player. If our players use their Riot account to log in and view the content on Riot's platform, we give them rewards. Essentially, if you watch RLCS, you get drops. Rocket League does this as well, but they kind of go on to say, and I don't want to just read the whole thing here, but they go on to say as well that they essentially, like, when you're playing the game, if you watch all of T1's matches and you only watch T1's matches, eventually when a T1 match comes up and they know you're going to be watching, there's probably going to be a pop-up on your in-game client that's like, hey, you watch all the T1 matches, you're a mega fan of T1, why don't you buy the T1 fan pack, and we will share the details of how your purchase goes to support the team T1, which I think is a fantastic idea. It is probably a little annoying to get a pop-up, but if you're a mega fan and you want to support the teams anyway and you play the games, you probably aren't going to care in the first place. You want your drops, you want to support your teams. You know, I've done it in the past with League of Legends. I bought decals for RLCS teams and all that stuff. So, you know, if you are a core supporter of the idea, you're probably going to pay and you're probably going to justify making the payment. So now, after a bit of background info, we get to the actual point of this video, which comes from a tweet from Adam, who is a founding employee at MLG and the founder of Esports Engine. He goes on to say, I love browsing esports Reddits and seeing fans rip the production level of a perfectly fine live event that they watch for $0 while simultaneously not understanding how egregiously expensive esports events are to operate due to NFL expectations with high school football revenue. We have decades of investment that needs to happen before this is the commercial behemoth it could be, but instead of being okay with production and quality being in line with revenue, we expect it to be traditional sports. Again, while expecting to pay $0 for content. And keep in mind, I mean, if you're talking about traditional sports, I already know I can't just go, I mean, you can find a way to watch the NBA for free, but you know, I don't watch the NBA for free. I actually purchase I pay for YouTube TV, and I know there's also NBA League Pass, but I remember I went to go watch a Suns game one time and I couldn't even watch it on YouTube TV because I had to buy NBA League Pass. I actually got scammed. I thought I would be able to get all the games, but anyway, I digress. But the point is that I'm actually paying to be able to watch these NBA games. And then this whole tweet from Adam goes into this longer discussion from Doa. And he says, seriously, you want to see esports grow? Let's start changing pay-per-view fees for weekend events again, or charging pay-per-view fees for weekend events again, and putting season VODs behind subscriptions. That was the standard before game companies took over the scene and decided everything should be free with zero plans for long-term sustainability. Actually paying money for the esports content you consume means that content can keep going and improve. Being tethered to game company marketing budgets isn't getting us anywhere. So Doa ends up starting this discussion about a pay-per-view model. You know, if you want to watch esports events, you should pay for some of the events that you want to watch. If there's an RLCS major, if there's an RLCS World Championship, I use Rocket League as an example because I watch and play Rocket League a lot. You know, if you want to watch the major, if you want to watch a World Championship, regional, whatever, you should pay to be able to see it. Do I agree with that? No. But do I think that there is an alternative there? Yes. The problem with going immediately to a pay-per-view model is that this stuff has been free for so long already. As soon as you start to charge for it, people are just going to disappear. Your entire fan base is reliant on this being free. Also, in Rocket League in general, a lot of people who do watch RLCS are, you know, kids, children with no disposable income, so they wouldn't be able to pay, you know, $5, $10 a month, or, you know, a season pass for $20 or whatever it ends up being. They wouldn't be able to pay that anyway. So immediately, once that happens, you would see a huge drop off in viewership. And, you know, with that, obviously, esports in general is just one big advertisement for the game. If you see a huge drop off in viewership, the game no longer has the advertisement. It's a backward cycle, essentially. And there are a few people on Twitter who had a couple takes about this. Jorby specifically said, esports would die faster than a crypto rug pull. I'm down to charge for extra features, but that's it. Events drive players, concurrency, players in your game, money equals money being spent. So yes, you know, the esports events themselves, Rocket League getting 60,000 viewers or whatever it is per regional, is keeping 60,000 people interested in the game itself. But whether they play or not, it doesn't matter. Rocket League is on their mind, and, you know, one day they might actually just launch the game because they watch so much Rocket League in general. What Jorby says here is inherently actually a solution for a lot of these issues. Here are some examples of the Rocket League broadcasters who do the team streams for RLCS and for their team. NRG stream, you can see they have average viewership of about 5K. These are the 3 Rocket League events that they've streamed. The most recent Rocket League events they've streamed, and they've had 5K viewers. The reason I use NRG is because they are the most popular team stream, while it actually just not being a human being. Kometo, which I have here, and Charlie as well. So you can see Kometo, as soon as he goes to Rocket League, he just has an absolute boom in viewership, but he has 35K people watching the Rocket League stream, which is absolutely insane. You can see Charlie, he's doing a Rocket League stream. This is probably right when the matchup ends, so the viewership drop off is here. But, you know, he had 10K viewers at one point, but, you know, say an average, actually the average is right down here. The average is 6.5K. And then you also have Hitch a Ride, who's doing the optic streams, which is about 2 or 3K, probably a 2K average. Ander, who's doing the Koi stream at 4.3K. G2 Esports, who has average of 1K as well. And the list, I mean, the list essentially goes on. There's a lot of viewership that are tied to these team streams, but you can definitely see the difference in the hardcore fan base between those. G2 has an average viewership of 1,000. You know, if you just inherently say that, that's 1,000 Rocket League fans. General, if nobody's a fan of G2, that's 1,000 Rocket League fans who are watching that match. But there are 5,000 people who watch NRG. So if you just do basic math or whatever, that means there's 4,000 people who are probably a little bit more interested in NRG, or at least the matchup, than they were in the G2 game or G2 in general, right? They're showing up to the NRG stream because they support NRG, because they like the people on NRG. And this goes into the solution that I was saying of maybe you can charge for a little bit extra. You don't have to do a pay-per-view model, but it kind of surprises me that a lot of these team streams have not kind of taken advantage of this. My idea, and I'm just using NRG as an example because I feel like they are the most popular team stream, again, without it being an individual person. Komedo takes the cake there. But as an org, NRG is probably the most popular. You know, why don't they charge a subscription where, and the price is a little steep, but hear me out, $50 a month. You know, you pay $50 a month, you're a mega fan of NRG, and maybe you get a t-shirt once a month. And you get a t-shirt from NRG once a month, you know, which also indirectly advertises your merch. People wear your merch. They see the merch and they say, hey, I get a free t-shirt once a month for my $50 subscription. Free is, you know, subjective, but not subjective. It's not free. But anyway, it indirectly advertises your merch. You get people to actually wear your merch and you're able to, you know, have that out there. I think one thing that a lot of orgs struggle with is actually merch sales in general and, you know, getting that stuff out there. So, you know, you give a NRG t-shirt once a month for $50. You can also do stuff like exclusive player interviews. You can essentially lock this content behind a channel, some sort of channel, and players who are subscribers are paying the subscription fee are able to see this. And this doesn't have to be $50 a month. Again, you can charge less, you can charge more, you can do different tiers, different options. If you pay this amount, you get this. If you pay this amount, you get this plus this. It's endless, essentially. Maybe you could do exclusive Q&As. So, I mean, one advantage that esports has over regular sports is that the players are a lot more reachable, which could be a con, but it also could be a pro in a lot of situations. You know, people lose a matchup and they get told to KYS on Twitter immediately. That's obviously a downside, but also there could be people could be a lot more in tune with their fan bases just based on like these exclusive Q&As. You know, maybe once a month there's a Discord channel where players will be there and you can ask your questions and the players respond. There's like an hour or two block or something like that, and you know, you get that exclusivity for being a member of this subscription service. And then obviously like access to a Discord or something. That's just like a very basic one. But the idea here is that, you know, you should be able to pay in a lot of these situations. I mean, having the access to options isn't bad. And people will pay for stuff that they find value in, essentially. And Starbasker makes a tweet about this as well. Hot take: if you and your parents are paying for cable TV, YouTube TV, similar, Netflix, Hulu, any of bajillion streaming service, Red Zone, MLS, Season Pass, and I pay for YouTube TV just to watch the NBA. I'll just throw it out there. You're proving that people will pay to watch what their interests are. Esports are no different. And I do think there is a valid point there. People, the basis point is there. People will pay for what they're interested in. But there are downsides to just making a direct pay-per-view service that, you know, obviously has to be considered. I don't think any esport is just going to go to the broad pay-per-view model. But I do think having a little bit of a bonus there, having the opportunity to pay for something, does have its advantages. That's it. See ya.